So disgraced FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried, known as SBF, who has just been extradited to the United States from the Bahamas, has taken yet another massive L. They just keep coming. And honestly, I really think that he deserves them. So his business partner and also his on and off again girlfriend, Caroline Ellison, just pled guilty to 7 charges and struck a plea deal with the United States Justice Department. So Ellison was a co-founder of FTX and the CEO of Alameda Research, which is the trading firm that SBF launched. So Alameda Research was a key part of Sam Bankman-Fried's scheme. So billions of dollars of customer funds were secretly moved from FTX to Alameda Research, starting as soon as FTX was founded. So this was a long haul scam. The scam from the very beginning, but SBF insists that this was due to confusing internal labeling. But in reality, SBF was using some of that money for himself. From an SEC complaint released last night, Bankman-Fried used Alameda as his personal piggy bank to buy luxury condominiums, support political campaigns, and make private investments, among other uses. Ellison used these funds for Alameda's operations, including speculative trading strategies and servicing Alameda's debt to third-party lenders. FTX and Alameda were built from the ground up on fraud. NBC News reported that the collateral Alameda held for its loans was mostly FTT, a crypto token FTX made and gave to Alameda, which the hedge fund then tried to prop up. From the SEC complaint, on more than one occasion, Alameda and Ellison, at Bankman-Fried's direction, actively engaged in the trading of FTT with the goal of supporting the price of the token. So as part of Ellison's plea deal, she waived any defenses to the 7 charges against her. So some of those charges are conspiracy to commit wire fraud, securities fraud, commodities fraud, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. So Ellison is facing up to 110 years in prison for those charges and will be forced to pay restitution. Insider reported that part of this deal, Ellison must cooperate fully with the prosecutors, the FBI, and any other law enforcement agencies. She must also provide documents, records, and evidence to prosecutors, as well as testify to a grand jury trial or at court trials when she is requested. So there's also another player in this, and his name is Gary Wang. He was another co-founder of FTX, and he also pled guilty to fraud and will be cooperating with prosecutors. Wang helped create the special software which diverted the funds from FTX to Alameda. So I've never gotten on the crypto bandwagon. I don't necessarily believe in the mission of DeFi. I don't necessarily think that crypto is the solution to the problems with our traditional institutional banking organizations. And one of the reasons I believe that is because crypto seems particularly, it's particularly useful to people who want to defraud people. Every time I see crypto in the news, it's this fraud or that fraud, and then people, crypto investors urging people that no, it's not more fraudulent. It's somehow deeply less fraudulent. But then you see things like FTX. Cenk, what are your thoughts?
All right, let's talk about all the surprising parts of the story. First of all, Caroline Ellison turns out to be 28 and not 12. So she's the youngest looking 28-year-old I've ever seen. And I think that Sam Bankman-Fried is questionable for dating her just based on that fact alone. Okay, now I get it. She's actually turns out to be 28, but I don't believe it. Okay, and number 2, can we bring the whole country together in this holiday season on agreeing that Sam Bankman-Fried needs a haircut? Okay, so I think we can finally get bipartisan agreement here. Number 2, can everybody stop with the 3 names? Like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Sam Bankman-Fried. I got it. AOC became popular. I got it, right? / I'm from now on, I'm Cenk Uygur. CKU, not a big deal. CKU, okay? And you have to call me that. I'm forcing everybody to call me that. I'm gonna come, you know what? I'm gonna come make up names. I'm gonna have like 5 names. I'm gonna make you guys say all of that. Anyways, now on to the real stuff. He's screwed. so she ran Alameda. She was the CEO. That's where they moved the money so that they could invest your money for their own profit. And oops, they lost it. So she was in a world of trouble, facing 110 years. That's why she cuts this plea deal. And as part of the plea deal, she must testify truthfully and cooperate with the federal government. So Sam Bankman-Fried will get plenty haircut in jail soon. Now he's out on $250 million bail, to give you a sense of how much money they have stuffed in their pockets from this scam. God knows how much of it they hid. But I mean, his arrogance was stunning. And I mean, even look at that comment that Rayvana read, you guys. I mean, he's like, or I think it was in the story in another part, sorry, where he was like, oh, the $10 billion that we moved from FTX to Alameda. Well, that was just like, and then Rayvana mentioned that he called it something like it's just a bureaucratic mistake, right? Oops, did I lose your $10 billion? Dude, where's my 10 billion? No, that's not a little mistake. That's a giant, giant fraud. And you're in a world of trouble, especially now that your girlfriend's turned on you.
Yeah, things are not looking good for him. But I will say, Cenk, to your point about the 3 names, I've been fighting against that for a long time. I mean, I've reduced it down to 1 name, just Rayvana. No first, no, just 1 name. I'm fighting against the tyranny of the 3 named people.
No, Ray, I always knew that about you. I mean, when I saw you, I thought, Rayvana, on name alone, power to the people.
I'm a true patriot.
That's right.
Okay, but so getting more into the story, it really seems like the entire economy is a scam. It feels like that more and more every day. But so why is it only SBF, Ellison, and the other co-founder Wang who are going to be punished? And that can be answered by looking at who it was that they scammed. So the New York Times reported FTX's list of investors spans powerful and well-known investment firms: NEA, IVP, Iconic, Capital, Third Point Ventures, Tiger Global, so on and so forth. Other ones include BlackRock. But these firms fell for the scam. New York Times also reported that 4 FTX investors who declined to be identified, probably because they were embarrassed, said they were shocked by the company's sudden collapse. They said they had properly researched the company's financials, which showed a healthy, growing business that provided an easy-to-use platform for people to buy, sell, and store crypto, and that they were completely in the dark about FTX's possible self-dealings with Alameda. But despite what they're claiming and what they're saying to sort of cover their own asses for the massive embarrassment that they've been caught up in, the warning signs were there, and they should have been transparent and obvious, especially to these investors. Ramnik Aurora, one of FTX's top executives, described a video meeting last year between Bankman-Fried and partners at a top venture firm. In the meeting, Bankman-Fried delivered a well-received presentation while simultaneously playing a video game. The entire partner meeting, he was playing League of Legends at the same time. I mean, I can't really say much because I'm playing Among Us on my other screen right now while I'm presenting the story. But I mean, if you are an investor and you are investing in someone who's not even focused enough during a presentation to you that he's playing video games, you deserve to be scammed. At that point, in my opinion, you got what was coming to you, that you didn't pull out immediately and you continued to invest in him and continued to believe in his project. It's a joke. I think it's just a complete joke. I think the investors really deserve some sort of punishment for propping up these businesses. It's the same thing that we saw with WeWork. It's the same thing we saw with Elizabeth Holmes. They invest in a person who they think is interesting or quirky or cool, and they're willing to dump billions of dollars into their projects without really looking into what those projects are or how they work. And that way, the people who make those projects are able to advertise them. Because of course the investors got scammed here, but there's also normal people who use the crypto exchange FTX, who lost all of their money or most of their money, who will never get any of that back. And the investors helped create that. They helped allow that to happen. So I think there should be some sort of repercussions for them too. Of course, it's never gonna happen. But Cenk, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, FTX apparently was running this scam for a long time, but no one ever called them out on it until those investors joined later in the process. And it's one thing when you rip off the average American, no one cares, and they let you do that for a long, long time. But when he ripped off Sequoia and SoftBank and BlackRock, these are some of the biggest names on Wall Street. You're not gonna get away with that. The only thing you'll ever get busted for if you're stealing in America at this kind of, if you're stealing over $1 million, the only way you're ever gonna get busted is if you steal from rich people. If you steal from pensions, you steal from the average American, you're free to go, you're celebrated, you'll become a hero, right? But if you steal from the big banks, you're not long for this world. And he didn't get it, Ravana, because in his world, people were throwing money, billions of dollars at his feet. He could do anything, he could play video games. He probably could have taken a dump on the table and they would have been like, oh, bravo, genius, genius. And so this goes to two giant myths in American media and debunking them. Number one is the great man myth, the myth of meritocracy. That the legends are so smart and the people and the richest people are the smartest people, even if they look like jackasses and need haircuts and play video games during investor calls. No, they are geniuses because they are rich, right? Well, what we saw with Elon Musk turned out not a genius. And if you read some of those emails of the people that were giving him billions at a time, turns out they're not geniuses either. They're just like, I don't know, I think Elon makes a lot of money. I don't want to lose out. FOMO, fear of missing out. Here, take all my money on a dumbass purchase of Twitter that has no chance of ever turning a profit. Okay, and then on FTX, and all the examples you gave, Ravana, no, these people are not great men. They did not merit all the money they have. Some might have, but overall, a lot of them were already rich to begin with, the right place, right time. And you could see it. It's clear to us. We could all see it with our own eyes. They were all jackasses. How do you get rooked by this guy? If I saw Sam Bankman-Fried and he's like, oh yeah, what else, man? I'm just transferring the money wherever. Oh, but crypto's awesome. Oh, you're gonna make so much. Yeah, I wouldn't put my money on that clown. But all these great men made that mistake. And then the second myth is that we don't need no stinking regulations. That's what they always tell you, right? Deregulate, it's red tape, bureaucracy, it's too much regulations. So can you have too much regulations? Of course you can. Is this an instance of that? No, there's almost no regulations in crypto. And it turns out if you don't have regulations, and another word for regulation is laws. If there are no laws, the criminals are gonna come pouring in. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and with FTX specifically, it's interesting because Sam Bankman-Fried, people like him, were against regulation until the very end when, Sam Bankman-Fried saw the writing on the wall. He wanted he was then advocating for regulation because he was hoping that like the big banks, in the 2009 financial crisis, that he was gonna be able to benefit from some sort of bailout, which didn't happen. So I'm totally for crypto regulation. It's the Wild West out there, and it's the number one form of fraud that people in their 20s and 30s are falling victim to right now. And the Congress is being bought out by these crypto lobbyists to not do anything about it. It's shameful. We need to take action. We need to protect the American people who might get involved in these crypto get rich quick schemes, but they don't deserve to have their lives ruined because of that. But Sam Bankman-Fried probably does deserve to have his life ruined after this. Any last thoughts, Cenk?
Yeah, and remember, when he said he wanted regulation, that was all BS anyway. He admitted to a reporter later, yeah, I gave money to Democrats, but it was for PR. I didn't actually want to do any regulation. I said that I wanted regulation so that the press would write positive things about me. And that's another telling part of our society. The press overall is a bunch of schmucks that'll believe anything a rich person says, especially if they give money / bribes to Democratic politicians. And he also said, oh, of course I gave to the Republicans too, but I hid that one because that wouldn't be good PR. But they were all bribes just so that he could keep running the scam until they made the mistake of taking from rich people.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, I really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.